1, 2, 3, 4. We're very, very close to quorum. I think we've got 4. I'd love to see Jeremy and Paul and John come on. So if you don't mind, let's give them a minute or two. There's Paul. Not bad.
I'm back.
Thanks, Miranda, and welcome, Paul. So it's an interesting day today, and I hope a propitious one for everybody here and for Hudson. It's the 22 of the 22.
And Earth Day on top of it.
And Earth Day on top of it. I remember the first one. We were, I think, down in Union Square Park in the early 70s. Meeting is called to order. The first order of business is a public hearing. And reading from my carefully conceived notes, the commission will receive public comment as regards the CFA application that has been submitted for the following address, 702-704 Columbia Street. Who's here to speak for 702-704 Columbia Street today?
Samantha with Facade Engineering.
Terrific. Samantha, good morning. Are you by yourself or you have colleagues with?
I think I got some colleagues here.
Okay.
I think Kylie's on.
Okay,
And,
terrific. No, I can see on the
Chad's
screen.
on
That's
too, but he's here for a different project.
super. Thanks so much, Samantha. So anytime you're ready, please open your screen and share this. Typically in a period of public comment, the commission basically just listens.
Okay.
But we do want to hear from folks who've joined the meeting to make their own comments. So go for it, Samantha. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Samantha with Facade Engineering, here representing the owner of 702-704 Columbia Street. And I'm going to start with showing some historic photos. Here is 702-704 Columbia right here. And then again in this photo. And this photo is up here, which is kind of hard to see. And then down here is back here. And this photo is this yellow building, and then up here in this building here. This building. And then again in this building. Here's the survey. This is the existing conditions. Excuse me. Here's the proposed. So the project includes an addition on the back rear, and then an addition on the second floor extending of the existing building. And you can see that better in the elevations. I also updated the site plan shown from the last meeting, and on here we just show the mechanicals as the planning board wanted to see the mechanicals on the rooftop on the site plan. So here's the front elevation. This is the existing condition elevation as long, along with the current photo of the building. So the owner would like to replace the second and third floor windows, removing the wood arched so that it shows back to the historic photo. And we did look into restoring the original, but the quality of the construction of the windows was poor, but we are able to find windows to match identical to what is there. And repair and freezing the brackets at the top. And then you can see on a different elevation that we're going to extend on this side. And we'd like to include, restore the doors in the back, which is this, and you'll see that on the rear elevations. But these are the doors in the back we're going to restore and put on the front, in the front storefront. We're going to replace the existing door that is in the center with a new door to match the existing. And then we're going to restore the existing door on the right side here, which is this one. So we'll restore this door. We're going to replace this door to match the existing. And then we're going to put in a new door on the left side, which is the door that's in the back, just restored. And then looking at the historic photos and recommendations from the board from the last few meetings, we're removing the planters in the front and replacing with new wood sill and raised wood panel detail under the windows, and replacing the windows with these kind of windows. The 7th Street side. So here is the addition, and you'll see that in the rear as well. But this is the addition on the rear with prefab manufactured staircases going up to the 2nd and 3rd floor with a wood guardrail.
Samantha, excuse me, somebody has their mic on. If folks are not speaking right now, particularly during this kind of presentation, please turn your mic off.
I
Thank
think
you.
that might be in Samantha's office, so I'm not sure if somebody else is talking there.
Yeah, it might be in my background, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So we're going to be replacing the windows on the 7th Street elevation as well. And a slight difference update in last week's meeting is the client updated these 3 windows down here from a 2/2. They decided they wanted to go with picture windows here. That's the only change from the last meeting that we did on the 7th Street side. And these 3 windows are going to go in replace of the existing opening here and just extend a little further out. So here's the rear elevation. So on the 2nd floor, this portion here is existing, as you can see here. What we're going to do an addition to the 2nd floor. So we're going to extend the 2nd floor out. So this is the new part. And then this 1st floor is a proposed addition. And we're going to replace the windows here, add new doors. Excuse me. The new guardrail for the 3rd and 2nd floor. A new custom greenhouse window and door assembly on both sides of the 2nd floor. And then new windows and doors on the 1st floor proposed addition. And there was confusion in the last couple of meetings before on how this configuration is. And you'll see that in the 3D view that I had, that I have later in the presentation. So here's the right elevation. And again, we're just replacing all the windows with new Marvin Ultimate wood hunk windows, extending the existing frieze that's on the front and on 7th Street side, as shown in historic photos that we've seen, and repair and repointing the brick throughout as necessary on all sides of building. And then these are just additional photos of the doors. So this door is the front center door that we're going to be replacing to match the existing. And these are the doors on the right side that we're going to be restored. And these are just the same elevations, but with the fence included in it. So there's 3 types of fences that are proposed, and they're all pretty similar. On the rear, we're going to have the brick and wood fence. So brick at the bottom and then tongue and groove wood in the top. The dumpster fencing is going to be a full length wood paneling, tongue and groove wood panel. Excuse me. And then both on the right elevation and 7th Street side is going to be brick on the bottom and metal fence on the top. And here's a 3D elevation. So you can see that the custom greenhouse windows kind of angle up towards the 3rd floor deck. And then we have some colored elevations for you to see. And that's it.
Thanks very much, Samantha. So, ladies and gentlemen of the public, open for questions and comments. Samantha, could you close your screen sharing for a minute? I want to see who's out there and see if anybody's got their hand up. Anyone from the public who wishes to speak? If not so, we can adjourn the public hearing.
This is Andrew Personette. I'm sorry, I don't know how to put my hand up.
Oh, that's all right.
I just wanted to, I didn't actually come to comment on that, but I did see their original presentation, and I think those changes to the front, especially those front windows, looks phenomenal compared to the existing windows. So I just wanted to give props on that.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Anyone else with questions or comments?
Yes, this is Christabel Goff. I can't see how to raise my hand. I'm so sorry.
That's all right, Christabel. I can see your name, so go ahead.
Yes, well, I just wanted to say this is a very important building for Hudson, and we're very happy to see it coming back to life. But we want to be sure that the commission carefully considers structural matters. The building is a little shaky. There are many anchors, and I hope that the engineering will be carefully considered. Also, the surface of the brick, if the paint is removed, needs serious consideration. And I hope that everyone's aware of the interesting decoration above the windows on the front facade, which is brick and quite unusual. And we think this is a wonderful project, but we do hope there will be great care for the historic aspects of it and for the front facade. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Christabel. Anyone else to comment or ask questions from the applicant? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing and go to the regular
Chairman?
order? Yes.
Sorry, just point of order. We're not adjourning it. You're closing it unless you want to reopen it at a future time.
Fair point. Thank you. Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Hugh, thank you. Second, Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Public hearing is closed. I do want to say, just a heads up to the folks from 702, 704, that I'm hoping we get back to you pretty quickly, but basically you're at the end of the agenda. I reckon certainly half an hour or so if you guys want to take a break and come back, and then the commission will deliberate your application during the section where we review applications. So you've got some time.
Okay, thank you, Phil.
Thank you very much. We have a number of certificate of appropriateness votes. Some of these go back to what seems like forever, but it was either 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago and so on. That's what I was going to ask you to do, Victoria. Thank you. First up is a C of A as prepared by the city attorney for 226 Warren Street. If there are no comments from the commission, may I have a motion to approve the C of A?
I'll make that motion.
Thank
I'll
you very
second.
much, Jeremy, in a second. Thank you, Paul, and great. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. It's approved. As Craig had asked, I will try to get all of these. There are quite a few signed and stamped. They need to go to Craig's office. I know folks sometimes contact me directly for the stamp C of A, but not a best practice. It's best that folks go back to Craig and confirm that they have not only the stamp C of A, but also the correct application attached. Next up is 41 North 7th Street. If there are no comments from the commission, may I have a motion to approve 41 North 7th Street?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much, Paul. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None approved. 227 1/2 Warren Street. If there are no comments from the commission, may I have a motion to approve 227 1/2 Warren Street? Thank you very much, Hugh. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Miranda, in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Are any opposed? None. It's approved. 602 Warren Street. Okay. Motion to approve 602 Warren Street.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Paul. And second, Hugh, in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Or any opposed? None. Unanimous. 501 Union Street. Motion to approve 501 Union Street, please.
I'll make that. I'll second.
Thank you very much. That was Jeremy and Paul.
Yes.
Yep.
Terrific. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Unanimously approved. 29 1/2 Union Street.
So I was missing the application date on this one, but Phil, can you fill that one in for me?
Not a problem. I did get Shane's note last night. I think I did send this, but it's easy enough to do. Motion to approve 29 1/2 Union Street.
I'll make that motion.
Paul,
Okay.
thank you. And a second from you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. 15 South 6th Street. Motion to approve the C of A for 16 South 6th Street. Anyone?
I'll make that
Hugh
motion.
and
Jeremy.
Jeremy and Paul. Go with that. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Unanimously approved. 253 Union Street. If there are no comments from the commission, a motion to approve 253 Union.
Motion.
Thank you, Paul. That was Hugh. And who's my second?
I'll second, Paul.
Terrific. Hugh and Paul? Terrific. All in favor?
Aye.
Not any opposed? None. Unanimously approved. Looks like 253 Union.
I think you just voted on 253.
Yeah, we did.
Forgive
yeah.
me.
I pulled up
Eight.
820.
820.
I'm sure you're correct. Motion to approve 820 Warren Street. C of A is prepared by the city attorney.
I'll make that motion.
Paul, thank you. In a second, please.
Second.
Second, Hugh, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None. Unanimously approved. 30 Union Street. Got it. Motion to approve the C of A for 30 Union Street.
I'll make that motion, Jeremy.
Jeremy, thank you. In a second, please.
Second.
Paul and/or Miranda, got it. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously approved. Thank you all very much. It's a lot of work going forward. Pretty cool. We have a special doc. It's not a C of A as it relates to the two major buildings in the Depot District. I asked City Attorney Victoria to prepare a document supporting some of the key elements of the project going forward. To be clear, we could not approve C of A. And understood by everyone in the meeting and understood by the applicant that we were going to require a lot more detail before we can produce a document that's enforceable by code. Much more to be discussed on this, but we did vote on preparing this type of document, and we did want the applicant to be able to move forward with a little bit of wind in their sails as they went into the meeting with planning.
Just, Phil, can I just raise a point that this is that that we're going to approve the demolition of that private residence?
We had not voted on that specifically, but it is one of the elements of this project in order to go forward. There's I don't believe there was any way to circumvent that and still have these buildings.
But that's not what the language here says.
Okay.
Well, it says that you did not object to the concept. I mean, this is not granting a C of A. They cannot go ahead and demolish the building now, but there's no way to construct the buildings without demolishing the structure. I mean, it's implicit in the proposal. So I just spelled it out so everyone knew exactly what you were giving your blessing to.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure exactly what we're giving our blessing to and what are we actually committing ourselves to? Are we committing ourselves to the height and bulk and mass of this? Are we committing ourselves?
I think we are. That's what
Today.
we basically said, and that's what we said at the meeting.
We did vote on that,
The
Chip.
basic scale of the basic structure and scale of the forms. And I would assume that we should anticipate that the final decorative elements are somewhat in keeping with what we've already seen.
I agree with the first part, John, not so much the second. I think that that there's still work and discussion with the applicant on this. But certainly we did approve the height, scale, relative footprint, massing, if that's a different term, and in general, the concept of the proposed fenestration. And that was voted on.
And that does have to include the demolition of that house.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
We were not explicit, but clearly, if we're saying that in general, we support the project, that's obviously part of it. Victoria added that to this doc, and I think appropriately so.
So I just added this so it's more clear based on your discussion.
So
The
I have a
massing
question
for, yep.
for maybe Victoria and the commission. For code purposes, is the C of A allowing and approving any demolition within this district in this application?
No, this is not, so this is not a C of A.
Okay,
This is similar to what we've done on several other large projects where you can't get a C of A until we have all the doorknob details and the door details and the window details. But the applicant doesn't want to proceed to that level of design until there's some kind of agreement on the larger form. And so at this point, it's not a C of A. If the board wants to go ahead and issue the C of A for demolition, you might have enough information to do that now on your own, but the intention from the last meeting was that the board wanted to vote on the general concept, so the applicant had some measure of certainty moving forward with the actual details. So no construction is anticipated to flow from this memorandum.
okay, so based on 169 of the city code, in order to for me to issue a demolition permit,
Mhm.
they have to have a certificate of appropriateness for demolition.
Understood.
Correct.
So without that, I can't issue a demo permit, meaning they can't demo anything.
Are they looking to demo anything right now?
Well, that's what I
Oh.
thought part of it was to demo
Yes.
them buildings, and
Yes.
that's where the confusion's at. I don't know what to do with this.
I think not so much, Craig. This was an intent to give these guys a nod to move forward through next steps. It is not a C of A. As far as I understand, they cannot demo and they cannot build anything without a C of A.
That's our understanding as well. And we're not looking to demo anything until after we have a C of A.
Okay, so Victoria, can you bring back up that C of A, please?
Not a C of A, but yes.
Or, well, the
Memorandum.
there you go. So, all right, I just want to
I
make
changed
sure.
the heading, Craig, so no one could sneak it by you.
Okay. Regarding, so it's not this is not by no means an approval.
Nope.
No,
Okay.
it can't be. There was insufficient information. It was understood by everybody.
Here, you want me? I'll put this in bold.
May I make one comment?
Of course. Wait, who's
Walter.
speaking?
Hi, it's Walter.
Walter.
So there was a little misunderstanding. We thought we were asked to come back today with the material that we were asked to provide and to respond to the comments that were made. So we came this morning with a full presentation ready to show you storefronts, materials, samples, so forth. So just so you know, that was, maybe that's not what's on the agenda, but that's what we thought was happening this morning.
Okay.
And Walter, is that the email of the material that we received at 9:59 a.m. this morning?
It is, Craig, but it's
Okay.
all material that you have already. It's the
Okay,
formal
no, I was just
presentation.
asking.
Yeah, I put it together in the presentation.
Well, Walter, I appreciate that. I'm not comfortable with going forward on that. I'm not sure I got anything. I certainly had nothing last night that would define in sufficient detail the rest of the project. And I certainly got nothing directly from Craig. All of the things that we opine on have to be vetted by Craig. I know it's inconvenient. I'm not comfortable putting that on the agenda.
Okay, it was my
That was an
misunderstanding.
email that we just got, Phil, right as I was signing on to the meeting. I didn't even open it up. I just seen the email from Walter.
So that was my misunderstanding. I apologize. So let's move on. We've now submitted it for your consideration, and hopefully at the next meeting, it will be under consideration.
No, absolutely. You know us, Walter. I'm not trying to slow this down, but I do want to go through the process of working with Craig before we move forward on full apps.
Of course.
Thank you. Apologies for the inconvenience. Can we go back to Victoria's memorandum?
Yep, I'm gonna pull it back up. Okay. I'll insert the date. Phil did send me the date last night, but I didn't have a chance to do that yet.
Don't worry about it, Victoria. I can fix that part.
What happened to San Francisco?
So a question for Victoria is, what is the commission committing itself to with this language in this memorandum?
So it's not a final approval. So you're not 100% committing yourself to anything, but you would be, without having, a strong basis or some reasonable basis for going back on this, you are sort of committing yourself to the height, the massing, the general layout of the project, the footprint. If something new comes up, of course you can change it, but without some new information, that's what you're telling the applicant, that they can move forward with that general concept.
I
So
think that, go ahead.
So the
Chip.
applicant then becomes, by right, from a legal point of view, the massing, the height, the bulk, the footprint, this project is done, except for what? The windows, the color, or not the color, but the materials, the finishes. I just want to make sure that the board understands what is being committed to here.
Chip, I'll rely on Victoria's judgment on this. I'm not sure it's exactly. Without more information, there is no way to opine on some of the specifics. Certainly without materials, which I think the applicant said they prepared. I don't see why there cannot be additional discussion on setbacks. There was a superb conversation with the applicant about ways to demass the visual impact of the structures in different ways. None of those conversations are complete. I defer to Victoria, but other than in general as a concept, I don't see that we can continue to have very particular discussions, and we're obligated to have very particular discussions with the applicant. I don't see it in anywhere near necessarily close to the finish line.
So you're not obligated to adopt this memorandum. This was something the board discussed doing at the last meeting, so it's been prepared, but there's no legal requirement for you to do it. The applicants requested something in order to move forward, but you're not obligated to give them that. But understand that they're might be hesitant to move forward with the minor details until you guys have some kind of agreement on the bigger picture of the building.
Well, again, I'm hearing two different things. On the one hand, we've approved, the commission has approved the massing. And then on the other hand, Phil has suggested that, well, there could be discussion about the setbacks or about modifying the massing or reducing the impact of the massing, whatever, architectural effort that may be. But I just want to caution the board to not be in a position where they're thinking that that there may be some discussion in the future about massing. The volume of this building, the height, the footprint. I'm just hearing two different things.
Right. If the board thinks that it's not comfortable with the massing, it should not take this step, and it should continue discussing it with the applicant.
One of the things that I don't remember the exact language that was used previously for the project on the corner of Union and 7th Street, where it was a large project and involved a lot of new construction, preservation and restoration of an existing building. I don't remember the exact language of that, but I think that a more appropriate use of a more appropriate language would be to keep it more general and to say that we've reviewed the concept and find its general direction appropriate. I don't think we should use the word approve in any of this language, and I think we should use the term generally considered appropriate, something like that. I think if we say that we have approved the massing, if we use that phrase, I just think we're painting ourselves into a corner.
So it doesn't say approve anywhere, Chip. It says preliminary memorandum indicating that HPC does not object to the proposed concept, including demolition of the residence and the massing. And then I added footprint, height, fenestration after our conversation today. So there's no approval, but again, this is not a required step for the board.
Okay.
If the board wants to adopt this, it may. If it doesn't, it does not have to.
We could say that the board does not object at this time to the project concept. I mean, I want to I'd like the board to have as much latitude as this process goes forward as possible. That's the point I'm making.
Totally fair point. I do understand that we did vote on this, and I also am very sympathetic with what you're saying, and I'm sympathetic with the applicant that if there was no nod in this direction, basically we've frozen the project. So something of this kind really has to go forward. I'd like other commissioners to weigh in.
Victoria, could you please put that back up again? The statement,
Yep.
Just in that last paragraph, or why can't it just say that we do not object at this time to this project concept and leave it there?
I think that, well, okay, somebody else? Please, folks, let's all weigh in on
I
that.
think the biggest issue is the demolition of a building in the historic district.
Yes.
Right. Among our, if we are here to protect, not destroy. And I guess and the overarching issue of the scale of these buildings in that location. And I think on the latter point, I think we felt a little bit, given how late this has come to the HPC, I feel as though we felt a little bit that our hands were tied. And on the former point, if we disallow the demolition of this building, then they have to go either completely back to the drawing board or cancel the project. So it's a little bit of a we as a commission either kill this or at least conceptually greenlight it with the ability to withhold our permission, but we can't withhold our permission, presumably, based on the demolition or the approximate massing?
I think
I think Victoria's done a great job, by the way, in drafting this. I think this does sum up what we discussed. Chip, that doesn't mean we cannot ask for changes to the building.
Yeah. I think it's, I do not like the board, the commission being put in a position where it feels like it is going to either kill this project or move this project forward. That's a bad posture for us to be discussing. We should not be there.
Well,
So,
that's
I think
why
you're-
this
you're-
is
Oh, sorry,
necessary.
Miranda.
I think that that's why it's necessary to do this intermediate step. I mean, looking at it from a practical point of view, this has been debated extensively by many other commissions, planning and zoning and so forth, and we had our public hearing. And agreements have been reached with the builders about the number of apartments, the size of those apartments, so everything that's going to be in this building has already been approved by other commissions. So what remains for us to consider, it's true, we have the question of the demolition of a historic house. And I think we do have to consider that. And if we don't approve it, it does kill the project. So I think it's a serious consideration. We need to vote on it. But as for this, I think what remains for us is the aesthetic qualities of the exterior of the building. We did have a very productive conversation with the applicant a few weeks ago about varying instead of having the facade of the building being a straight horizontal line, varying the depths and heights of the storefronts and the other parts. And I think that improved the building substantially. So there are still, I'm not sure we're all on the same page about the fenestration. That's the one thing I would actually take that particular thing out, because I think there's more discussion to be had on that. But I do think we have to take responsibility for, I agree with John, that we have to take responsibility for a decision. And if we're not going to allow the demolition of that house, then they can't build this building.
I don't recommend to you guys that we're in the position of killing projects. We've never done it.
No.
It is not our job to do that. For the most part, we've been very careful about that. It does not further historic preservation in Hudson to be noted for killing a public housing project. I would suggest that some of the language that Miranda used in terms of at this time, we do not object to. If there are other folks who want to weigh in as regards the fenestration, I know that was a concern that Chip had raised. I should not have used the term setback, Chip. It was incorrect. I meant that you had talked about variations of how the facade comes out and other ways of dealing with the mass, et cetera. I do want to hear from Jeremy and Hugh on this. This is a really important issue.
I think that sorry, Jeremy, I'll
Go
just,
ahead,
it's a complicated project. It's an important project. I think a great deal of time and effort have been put in at this point. I think the proposed buildings are appropriate, and we've had that discussion. Where we are right now is, does a project of this magnitude go forward? Especially considering we may have to remove an existing building to build new buildings that are important to the city. And again, we're not here to stop projects. We're not here to, as John had said, we're here to save buildings, not take them down. But in certain cases, to move the city and these necessary projects towards the future, sometimes we have to make, rarely, but sometimes we have to make hard decisions. And while we're not giving a C of A on this project right now, it seems that yes, we could talk about fenestration and certain details of the project, But until we make a decision, not necessarily today, on a building coming down in order for this to move forward, that is a huge obstacle, or that's a huge detail of this project. So, I lean towards moving the project forward. Like it outweighs, moving the project forward outweighs, not taking a building down in this case. And I think that's where I think that there's a lot of other issues, there's certain other issues that we're discussing, but that seems to be the most important perhaps at this time.
I think it is, because we've not, Hugh, I cannot recall us authorizing the demolition of a building. There was one before us that was falling down, and it was eventually, we didn't have to decide, right? So we haven't done it. And indeed, that is, and we haven't spent a lot of time on this, the destruction of this building, but that is the antithesis of what we're here for.
Thank you.
So if we were to decide this, solely on take out, as we discussed last time, take out Hudson's verified and pressing need for more housing, with which we all concur. If we were to argue this just based on what our charter is under the code, it would be no. Right? You don't take
But
down
wait,
buildings.
not necessarily. Your goal is compatibility. And I think what's missing from this discussion, the applicant needs to present the information to you on this building, whether it has, historic characteristics that are worthy of preservation, how this building contributes or doesn't contribute to the historic district. It's not black or white, the building stays, the building goes. I think you need to review and assess this building in the first instance and determine whether or not it should be preserved. And then you go to the next level of review.
I agree with what Victoria said. I agree with what Miranda and you have said. I do not think that we are in the business of killing projects. I understand the demo comment, but there also is a matter of community and public good. This project is dependent in part on that. And I don't think it should be the focus of our discussion. The points that we raised in the prior meeting, some of those made very eloquently by the commission architect, Chip Bowl, was not about anything to do with closing the project, diverting the project, or making the project economically unfeasible. What Chip addressed, I thought pretty brilliantly, was these are large structures. They have a critical purpose in the social cohesion of this city. We are part of city government and should participate in the purposes of city government. But can this kind of structure be handsome, is the term he used. And can this kind of structure be made compatible to the degree that you can have compatibility in new construction? Not so easy. The code is extremely clear when we're dealing with historic and contributing houses, because we have a template to follow: history, design elements, specificity of certain features. With new construction, the code is not exactly as clear, and it makes the work that much harder, but I believe we can do it. I believe that we can have publicly subsidized housing. I believe we can have buildings in scale. And I believe if we work hard at it and work with the applicant, that these buildings can be handsome. Chip raised the second point, that buildings that are unattractive, that people are not proud of, over time, maybe not in 5 years, but maybe in 10, begin to fail because people don't associate with it. Buildings that are so different and don't participate in the visual part of the community, in a sense, are stigmatizing. Best example would be what the Brits have done so brilliantly. in segregating race and class with these things they call council flats, designed to be hideous. Chip has said, and I trust Chip, this does not have to be that. It can serve the purpose that's being requested by the city government, by planning, by the common council, by the mayor, and still be handsome. And those are the parameters I think we have to work in. Forgive my speech. Jeremy, did you get a chance?
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in. And I'm new to this notion of demolition on the commission. I haven't been exposed to it. It sounds like a lot of the people on the commission haven't either. I didn't realize that was on the table as something discussed even from the start. And if it had, I wish we had begun with that discussion before we went down this whole other course of massing and everything else. It seems like a step that maybe we just missed, and now we're backtracking because we didn't discuss it thoroughly. What I see this memorandum really as is a vote of confidence. Vote of confidence in the sense of the general direction of where it's going, the willingness of this group of architects to engage with us, to alter their concepts, to take feedback, and they have done that. And I feel like they've done that in the aim of appropriateness. So that's not really binding in any way. I don't see really any issue with the memorandum. I think the question is, how do we operate? But the larger question is, there's a building there that has to be demolished. Is that really something we have to question at this point? Is that really the conversation we're having now? And I don't know enough about the building, frankly, to know its historic merit. So I don't know what we do with that because we've gone so far down this road.
Jeremy, thank you so much. And someone tell me if I'm talking too much. I think that that part is over. I think that you raised the point of trust, and I'm asking for some trust on this. I believe that the applicant wants a handsome structure, as Chip said, and is agreed to work very hard on that. This is not our first rodeo working with Walter. We've had, I think, some enormous successes in negotiating through some tricky stuff and made that work. I think that the brewery is kind of a beautiful construction. Obviously, the Alger House is going to be a brilliant addition to Hudson, and so on. So I want to talk about confidence. I have a confidence in this commission, in our commission architect, and in the applicant to want the visually best, most attractive, most handsome outcome that we can derive, given the knowledge that we can't pretend we don't have now, that this is something that is being driven by the city, by the community, by all the other elements in city government. And the task or the opportunity has been thrust on this commission, not to throw this out, but to figure out how to make it a place where people, with the applicant, where people are proud to be associated with, proud to live in, and feel that they're still in Hudson as they walk past it. I believe that can be done, but it can't be done if we pull some nuclear option at this late stage that precludes the whole thing. It makes no sense to me, and I don't think that's our role.
Phil, can I just make a comment that the reason this was never discussed by this commission is there was never a C of A brought before us to discuss. So I think it's kind of regretful that this is being presented now, or even it still isn't even being officially presented to the C of for a C of A.
No, it's not, and there's still stuff.
Well,
from planning.
it's part of the C of A application that was submitted. It's just when the applicant presented it, their focus was on all the, the big renderings of what it's going to look like. And there was no attention given to this particular building. I put it in the memo because I wanted to make sure that the board, was aware of it and that we could have this conversation. Real quick. So it is something that you are considering now. It's properly before you. And if you need more information, you should ask the applicant to address it. real quick, I'm just going to pull up again your criteria. I know you guys all know this, but a reminder that when you review something like this, you know, this is what you're supposed to be considering. If it contributes to the character of the district, it should be retained with features altered little as possible. Alterations have to be compatible. New construction has to be compatible. So, you know, I think you guys should look a little more at the building. And then if you don't approve it, then there's a hardship procedure for the demolition as well, which you'll have to go through. So your code doesn't prohibit you from approving a certificate of appropriateness for a demolition. It's something that is, you know, it's a proper request and it's something that you can properly consider.
May I make one comment very quickly? So this was originally brought to you all over a year ago, and we were told at the time that it didn't have to be reviewed. It went to SHPO, the State Historic Office of Preservation. They reviewed it, they approved the demolition, and you all were sent all of the appropriate documents from that. So you as a group were sent all of that at the initiation of this application.
I agree with Walter's comment. We've had the information about the demo for a year. To be shocked and amazed at this point, given the process, is I think really not okay. I mean, if you want to say I missed the ball, maybe I did, but all of that information was on the table, including the demo.
I just want to jump in I think that is true. We were presented, we saw pictures of the house that was going to be demolished. We saw that the State Historic Preservation Office had approved the demolition of that building. What we failed to do, and it is our responsibility as a commission, it's part of our job to make a decision about the demolition of that building. We do have a responsibility to do that, I believe.
It was intrinsic. Yeah.
I don't have the letter in front of me. I thought that letter sort of more or less confirmed that this house would certainly impact the project, but I don't remember there being permission to demolish it.
We submitted an alternatives analysis, which we sent to SHPO and which was a part of our C of A application, which provided significant detail on the economic and architectural reasons why it would be impossible for us to save that house. SHPO also reviewed the rough design of the two buildings, and they provided a letter accepting our alternatives analysis, which was also shared with the Historic Preservation Commission. And it was my understanding following the last meeting when we all spoke about this project that the Historic Preservation Commission had a vote approving the site layout of the building, which would of course necessitate the demolition of buildings that are on that site, as well as the massing and fenestration. And we left that meeting with the understanding that you needed more detail on the material specifications in order to issue a C of A. So admittedly, we got that information too late, but it's our hope that following that vote at the last meeting, the discussion would be moving to those more granular questions about the materials that we're specifying for the facade, the roof, and the storefronts. Am I incorrect? That's where
I don't think you are incorrect. But I think because of the speed of the process, and yes, maybe we saw something a year ago, but there's a very different commission even than a year ago. Not that we're not bound to what we decided then, but I think that given that the destruction of a structure in the historic building that is not being done out of necessity, other than to create these buildings, is something that needed to be digested by this body. I personally, since we're giving opinions, I personally think it's regretful. I think I'm sorry for it, but I wouldn't vote. I would stand by what we discussed last week and would probably proceed to move ahead. And the argument that buildings have to go so progress can be made is a very slippery slope, and one that we could regret, because that means a lot of our historic district could be demolished, right? There are other places to put these buildings in Hudson. So that are not in the district even. So I find it really regretful, but at this stage, I wouldn't stand on that to stop the project.
Thank you, John. Victoria, could we go back to the document again? I just want to see if there's a way of cutting the baby so that we have appropriate language.
May I pose a quick question?
Who's speaking?
This is Dan Kent.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. So the Historic Preservation Commission voted on basically providing not a certificate of appropriateness, but general approval of the massing, site layout, fenestration. Is this kind of just putting that vote that already occurred to writing? Is that the purpose of what's being presented here?
That's
Or
correct.
is
We're
this a
trying to,
separate question.
Dan, we're trying to translate that into a workable document.
Okay, got it. So it's something that's already been voted on and approved, and we're just
We voted on a relatively rough set of language that had not been through the attorney and did not have this degree of specificity. So I think we got a right to have the language that we want.
Okay.
Right, and I just want to be careful about using the word approve again.
We didn't approve, but yes, thank you.
We asked the city attorney to draft this document. That's what.
That's correct. And that's what we're doing. We're drafting a document.
Okay.
Let's go on.
Quick question, Victoria. On this document, it says the applicant has submitted an application dated. The actual date of the application is January 11, 2022.
Thank you. I had a lot of materials and I was having trouble finding.
That's the official application notification to this board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go to, can we go to the last paragraph? That seems to be the paragraph in question. I believe HPC therefore preliminary memorandum to indicate that HPC does not object to the project concept, including demo massing footprint, height of the buildings, so that the applicant may proceed with the development of a detailed project plan. What's the problem with that, folks?
I think this language, personally, my opinion is this language is fine as it is, but that as a procedural matter, we have to take a separate vote on demolishing the house.
We can do that with the C of A.
Victoria?
Yes.
This is correct. From the sidelines here, instead of saying proceed with the development, maybe it should say proceed with the development proposal. Meaning just a proposal at this point, and then when they come back with all their details, then you can move forward to approve or disapprove.
So it says applicant may proceed with the development of detailed project plans. You want me to say instead of using the word development?
Proposal.
Because then it's kind of helping everybody involved, in my opinion, just saying this is a proposal, this is what everybody's kind of agreement with, come back with your detailed plans of everything, and then you move forward.
So what are we saying? May proceed with the proposal of detailed plans?
Development or developed proposal detail plans or something along that line, just to make sure that this is an understanding that this is you're agreeing to their proposal, but you're really not agreeing to the approval of the whole proposal yet. You're agreeing to their proposal, but you want more
creation of detailed
project proposal.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
I think that will help. Wouldn't that help the applicant as well?
Yes.
Yeah, we want to be clear. It's not allowing anything in the ground.
And at the same time, you're giving them support, saying, "Oh, just come back with a more detailed proposal, and we'll keep moving forward."
Just to be clear, we've implied now that we are good with the demolition. That's done. That ship has sailed. We're all in agreement. We're not going to talk about it anymore. It's done. Is that correct?
I don't agree with that. I
I
think
don't
it's a
agree with that
matter of
either.
principle
And we should have a separate, well, then we should vote on that right now.
I mean, that's,
We have to
why don't-
otherwise,
vote on
this
that.
is a
Like I
waste
said,
of
in
time.
order to
John.
vote, we need a
Whoa,
certificate
guys.
of
I give them
appropriate-
approval to like continue to plan a building that requires them to demolish something. It's
John, in
Yes.
8 years, we have, I mean, there is no slippery slope that I'm aware of. We have done as little or no demo except for stuff that was falling apart. I do understand that this is different, but I want you to understand that that is a showstopper. It is not a project that can be done in lots of locations. The zoning in that particular section of Hudson and the availability of space is actually fairly unique. If you guys want to go ahead with a showstopper discussion, good luck. I don't think that is how we serve Hudson.
Bill,
I
think
think,
we're allowed to-
I think we
it
still
makes
need to
sense have- I
do,
agree with you, but I think it makes sense to have a discussion. Two commissioners are asking us to specifically rule on the destruction of a building in the historic preservation district so that this project can proceed. I agree with you, Phil, but I don't think that we should quash discussion about it.
Okay.
should we see if the applicant can pull up some information right now and talk, show you the building again, so it refreshes your memory, show you the letter from SHPO, talk about the,
Let me offer one thing, and I think in the SHPO letter, it makes mention of their their recognition that demolishing this building has value for the project. And I think that one of the things in that letter stated that because of the size of the project and because of the other buildings that are replacing it, that it had value to demolish the building because of what it was being replaced with. So I think that we should not separate the two approval of demolition, separating from what it is to be replaced with. I think they're combined. I think the question for the commission is what is being, what the applicant is offering to replace the building with. Is it better or more appropriate than the building that's being demolished? And does the balance of the public good offset the balance of the loss of that building and that building fabric and I think I don't think it's a good idea for us to separate these two. And I don't even think the applicant has asked for this. Dan, I think, I don't want to speak for you, Dan, but I think that you said early in the meeting that this is, you're not making an application for demolition at this time.
no, it's part and parcel of the C of A. So it's one C of A that the board will be voting on,
Correct.
demolition and replacement.
Correct. And I think it gives the board the ability to look at the entire fabric of this proposal in light of, is it worth it to have the demolition of the, is the new building as good or better or more appropriate than the demolition of that building? And I think that that's consistent with the SHPO letter, which the applicant provided. I want to make it clear the applicant, I don't feel for a second that the applicant has been anything but fairly disclosing about the demo. So we need to diffuse any misconception about that. They've been very forthcoming and this has been on the table for a long time. I think procedurally for us, we may not have addressed it in the way that we'd like to address it. And maybe in hindsight, we would address it a little bit differently. But I think that where we are now, if we keep the demolition of the building as part of the, what to do with the building, that question as part of the review of the continued review of this project, I think that's good for everybody. I think that's good for the commission. I think it's good for the applicant.
Thanks very much, Chip.
I think that's really well stated, Justice Bowles. Like it's, right, that's the right way to view this, right? We're not approving the demolition of a building. We are approving the demolition of a building in conjunction with the creation of new housing and a new structure. And we retain the right to make certain that that new structure is appropriate.
Handsome.
And handsome. Can we go back to Victoria's language then? Is there any other addition or change, or could we take a vote on that? It's my expectation that the applicant will be back in 2 weeks with the detailed presentation.
I just think it's important for the language to be soft. Obviously, we all want to support this project. We all want this project to go forward. We want it to be a really, really good project. And so I don't think any of us are not wanting to show our support for the applicant and for this project. We want it to go forward. We just want it to go forward as best as can be, and what would be most appropriate for the community. And the applicant has been super responsive to our conversations and our suggestions. We have more conversations and more suggestions to have. As we have done in previous applications, we have given a positive nod to a concept without providing any binding limitation to the commission. And I think that's where we want to go with this. So if Victoria can craft that language in such a way that we give the positive nod, but we don't encumber the commission with any future limitations, then, I think we all want to do that.
But then what's the point of this then? If it's not required, then I think we've all said a verbal vote of confidence here. What's the point of a memorandum then if it has no teeth or no? I just don't understand why we're going through this exercise if that's the case.
The applicant, and this happened with Prospect Park, Promenade Park, and the applicant asked to get a sense of the commission, and the way we've done it on other large-scale projects without sufficient detail is some form of memorandum support. It really is useful when you go from one board to another to be able, for example, to communicate to planning that in general sense of the project that there will be HPC support. Otherwise, we're tripping over one another. We accomplish nothing. So I do find the memorandum useful.
Okay.
And the applicant requested it.
From my perspective, we want, I'm sorry, Miranda.
No, I was just saying, I think the language as it currently stands with the changes that have been made today is good. I think it does generally approve, or generally we're generally accepting the major parameters of the project, but we will still have comments to make about the details of the way that those structures are presented, the handsomeness of those structures and the appropriateness of them in relation to other buildings in the city, which is really our job. So I personally like the language as it stands right now.
And from our perspective, that's helpful so that, as we're presenting further information, we're focusing on the right details and we're moving the discussion forward in a constructive way. And I think looking at the current resolution, the only change that I'm noting from what was discussed at the last meeting is the fenestration isn't listed in the memo. Our sense from the last meeting is that you did kind of given us the nod on that. Can we proceed with that understanding, or were there further comments about the fenestration that we should continue to address before the meeting 2 weeks from now?
Dan, I'd like to exclude that for the time being, and I understood the dialectic on that. We got into some pretty esoteric stuff on how the size of stuff changes through the parallax effect and so on. Walter had made a point of having reference to industrial buildings. And the fact that often it was a single size window, and through just the observation of the upward thrust of the building, the size changed I do understand the implications of varying window sizes when you're talking about people's apartments, and how that can affect what you're trying to accomplish. So it is important that we understand that this is going to be apartments, not a different type of building, which would have more freedom. Chip had made the point that the fenestration is a huge detail, if you will, in a building, in a project of this scale, particularly with linear structure and predominantly a single material, in this case, brick, as I understand it, as the facade. And I'm pretty sure he'd wanted to reserve the right to have further discussion of the fenestration. And I don't see why we can't. We would in any other application. If we're talking about detail and materials, include that in our conversation. I'd like to continue to have some conversation about that in the next meeting.
Okay. The part of why I ask is, as we're preparing and the materials we submitted this morning to the commission did not include any major changes to fenestration, because we had the understanding that you roughly liked what we had presented. Are there further recommendations we should be considering at this point? Okay.
No, I think that going back to the North Star that Chip proposed, which is a handsome set of buildings that not just the people who live there, but the community will be proud of, is still on the table. And I would decline to withdraw that from the table. It's still there, and we still have a right to discuss all of that in our next meeting.
Okay, that makes sense. So we'll be submitting the materials package where we're certainly open to additional comments on fenestration. I just didn't want the commission to think we were ignoring any previous feedback regarding.
I never thought that, Dan. And again, so you guys have to submit what you want to see happening. At this point, there has been no specific instruction to do anything else with the fenestration than what you proposed in the past, but we hold the right to discuss that.
Sure.
Going back, are we going to be able to vote on something? Victoria, you want to try again with that last paragraph and see if maybe we'll take a vote on that? I can't see how this constrains us enormously, and I can see how this is very helpful to the applicant. That's my full comment.
Can I make a motion that we approve this preliminary memorandum?
Appreciate that. May I have a second?
I second it.
All third.
Thank you very much. All in favor of proceeding with the memorandum? Are there any opposed? We proceed with the memorandum.
Wait, I think you have two up. Can we do a roll call vote, Phil?
Yeah, we absolutely can. I'll go across the top. Chip, aye or nay?
Nay.
Miranda,
Aye.
Hugh,
Aye.
Paul,
Paul, you're muted.
Nay.
Jeremy,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Phil, aye. The ayes have it.
I have two. I have it.
Thank you. Okay. Let me go to then certificate of appropriateness applications for today. And I just want to make sure everybody's either here or if I missed anybody. What I have on the agenda is 30 Union Street, 513 Warren Street, 205, 207 Warren Street, 354, 356 Union Street, and 702, 704 Columbia Street, which was the application that was presented to the public for comment at the beginning of the meeting. Did I miss anyone? If not, let's proceed. Can we hear from the applicant for 30 Union Street? Not. Anyone here from 30 Union Street?
He
Right.
was here.
Yeah.
What's that application for, Phil?
I don't have the file with me. I thought it was an application that we had discussed in a prior meeting that was going forward to another round.
Maybe something to do with the addition on the back of the building.
That's correct.
It was the rear.
We
step-
voted-
rear porch.
We voted on 30 Union for the stair replacement just earlier. We gave the C of A for that. So
Done.
was there
Let's
a
go-
second
Let's
part
go to
of that?
let's go to 513 Warren Street.
Okay.
Anyone here from 513 Warren Street?
Yes.
Oh, terrific.
Let's see. Give me 1 second.
Of course. Thank you.
It was a quick transition. I wasn't quite ready.
You've got to stay alert.
I guess so. Between that. Let's see. This is there. Okay. 513. There it is.
Forwarded you an email that with the elevations. It should be at the top of your email.
There we go. Too many pieces of. There we go. Share. So at our last presentation, I think Chip brought up some great points about the aesthetics of the brick wall and trying to maintain that. We've gone back to the applicant and discussed those concerns and how we can adjust our system to meet those requests. And we've modified the submission to incorporate the brick veneer on the rear of the building. So we're still going to take that wall down because of the extent of failure that we have there. Take that down, reconstruct it with a wood frame system and veneer with the reclaimed brick. The contractor and the applicant have some concern about their ability to save enough brick for the complete veneer using those material. And my comment to them was, let's take it down carefully and do the best we can. And if we get into a situation where we need to supplement with some matching new material, then we'd come back to the board and discuss it at that point.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's very clear.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? I do remember the discussion of the brick. It was actually fascinating to go through all of the elements at each level. So I'm glad that the owner was sympathetic to that view. I think that's great. Any
Absolutely.
questions or comments?
I have a question about the lintel design in the drawing for the proposed rear elevation. It does not show the lintels as in the existing photograph.
I noticed that myself, Chip, and the intent is to restore as the original with the arch header of the brick material. It is, this was just a hatching for the back wall.
Okay, just to make that clear. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Appreciate your getting back so quickly with this. May I have a motion to find the application complete?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much, Paul. And a second?
A second.
Thanks, Jeremy. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? None. The application is complete. May I have a motion to waive a public hearing and request the city attorney to prepare a C of A?
I'll make that motion.
Paul, thank you. Second. Hugh, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Pat, can you take down your screen, please?
Yep. Sorry, Victoria. There we
That's
go.
right. I just trying to count the votes.
Yeah.
Okay. We are at 205-207, Warren.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Did I do that right? Anyone
Yeah.
here from 205-207? Yes, no, maybe? No. 354-356 Union Street.
Hi, this is Andrew Personette. I'm representing Roaring Twenties Endeavor for their application. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Great. So this is our second time appearing. This is an accessory building in the rear of the lot. It actually is on Cherry Alley. I will bring up the plans so you can see the existing main house on Union Street, and then this is an existing carriage house on Cherry Alley. And so at our last presentation, we received two pieces of feedback. One was a request to try and maintain the hayloft door, or at least reference to the hayloft door. The other one had been a request to drop the window header heights. We mentioned last time that we were not likely to want to drop the window header heights because we have only, I'll bring up that section. Oops, something glitched. Our window header heights, as you can see here, are 5'6", and if we were to drop that down, we would be at 5 foot for the header height, and the glass would be starting below 5 feet. And the other reason we did not want to do that is because of the small windows on the west elevation would become, kind of pointless in our opinion to become that small. So the other request was to, we had a matched set of windows prior across the north elevation facing Cherry Alley. So it was requested that we try to hold on to the hayloft doors. So what we've proposed here is to essentially refurbish the existing hayloft doors, attach them to the side of the building as if they had been swung open, and put windows of the same proportion as the hayloft doors, just filling in that opening. And I'll show you. So it's taking these, I don't think I really have a better, taking these existing doors, as I said, refurbishing them, and then attaching them on the outside. I think, again, we failed to show this, the beam above the doors, but we would leave that as well.
small
Thanks,
window
Andrew.
to the side of the hayloft would go away because it'd be covered by the hayloft door, right?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Miranda?
In the photo you just showed, there's a small window to the side of the hayloft, and that won't exist in the new version.
That is correct. That will go away.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Okay. If not, may I have a motion to find the application complete?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much, Paul. In a second.
Second.
Jeremy, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to waive a public hearing and request the city attorney to prepare a certificate of appropriateness.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Paul. In a second, Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, unanimous. We are back
Thank
to
you,
the
everyone.
beginning. 702, 704 Columbia Street, which was where we started the day.
Hello, Samantha again.
Thanks so much, Samantha. Come back on.
So like I said before, these are the historic photos. And if you want me to go back, I can.
No.
Here's the
The-
site plan.
What did you feel were the critical issues from the previous discussion? There's some concern, as I understood it, about the fenestration and some consistency issues, which I believe you've addressed.
Yeah, and then the two updated updates from the last meeting that I mentioned before were the mechanicals on the rooftop
Yep.
shown on the site plan. And the windows on 7th Street, these 3 windows, they are updated from a 2/2 to these picture windows. The sizes remain the same from last time. It's just the window itself from 2/2 to picture.
Samantha, that's where your cursor is, right on the bottom.
Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
those were the only changes from last week.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
I do have a question about the mechanical units that are on the roof and the parapet that you're bringing down the right-hand side of the building. Yeah, thank you. The parapet you're bringing back just to the first chimney, to the first parapet line, and the roof slopes down from left to right as you are. Thank you for pointing that out. I think that it's really good that you've been asked by zoning to identify, I guess, planning to identify those pieces of equipment. You might want to consider pushing them back a little bit further from the edge, because in fact, this the stepping parapet that survives on that right-hand side, and you can kind of also maybe sort of see it in your 3D sketch, is a little bit closer to the roof than what this 3D sketch shows. Your 3D sketch shows that the parapet is continuous all the way back, but in fact, it does step down at those 2 chimney flues. So I don't really know how. Actually, you have a rear photograph that kind of shows the height of the slope of the roof.
These photographs you're talking about, Chip?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Just for your consideration, I think that if those units could be pulled a little bit further away from the edge, it might improve sight lines for them to not be visible.
Okay.
Agreed. Cool.
I have a quick question, Samantha. This is Craig. When I looked at this plan, the doors for the commercial space, and I know this conversation come up at planning as well, are they ADA accessible? I know I assumed they were. I thought it was there when I reviewed this.
I believe the commercial ones are. looking at the photo, there looks to be a step up in the center one.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Chad regarding this, and I thought it was put in the plan, and I don't see it. The commercial spaces have to be ADA compliant. They have to have an ADA accessibility. You might have to chat about it.
And so relative to what that means to the commission is that a leaf door needs to be 36 inches wide, and if these double French doors, the total opening may be wide, but without special hardware, I don't think that complies with the ADA. So there may be some issues to the commission relative to the concept of reusing these doors, which I like the idea. It's just that it may be a matter for that these doors have to be replaced or redesigned with different doors. So I thank you, Craig, for pointing that out.
Well, they can gain ADA accessibility from the rear as well, providing that is provided. It doesn't necessarily say it has to be to the front of the building. And Chad and I talked briefly about it, and when I did the review on this, I mean, these doors scale to be ADA. But now looking at them, I'm not sure. See, like that opening that's on there now, the existing, that's definitely, that would be ADA compliant. So I think we're okay. We can move forward. I think you should be able to move forward. And if it changes, they would just have to come back for amendment to the doors.
I'm sorry, Craig, where are we going to be compliant? Front, back, both?
Well, I got to look at it. I got to review it with them. I mean, in my opinion, what's there would meet the requirement as far as scaled size, but there's no indication of it on the plan. And I had talked to Chad about that briefly. So again, as an approval factor, I don't see what would hold them up. If it doesn't match or if it doesn't have ADA, then obviously they would have to come back.
Commissioners, would you be okay moving forward with the applicant and code enforcement sorting out the ADA prior to our next meeting so that we would have that as a contingency?
Yes, sure.
Terrific. May I have a motion then to find the application complete? Sorry.
Can we just talk for a second about the
Sure.
change to the windows on the 7th Street side?
Sorry, Miranda. Thank you.
I'd just like to have a quick look at that with the commission. All of the other windows are 2/2 double hung. And to my eye, this whole facade retains the historic character, at least in the front part of the building. And this sticks out as being a modern element. I don't know if others have the same feeling.
The thought of these picture windows on the side was, because it's on the first floor commercial, was to match the kind of like the storefront windows on the front. That was the thought behind updating and changing these pictures or these windows to picture windows rather than the 2/2.
And Samantha, didn't you show us a historic photo that showed that there were actual windows there in the past? And that's how, because we had originally asked you to kind of examine that piece.
Hard to say from on that side. I mean, there's that existing opening on the current photo right here.
Yeah.
Whether that was a window before or, whatever it was. And we're utilizing that opening for these windows and just extending it a little bit to gain the 3 to match the 3.
What is the lintel or the masonry lintel or arch that's currently used above that first floor opening?
I'm sorry, what was that, Chip?
What is the type of lintel that exists today in that existing opening that we're looking at here on the first floor?
I'm not sure.
Well, if you have your extra care card, please place your item in the bagging area.
John is shopping.
He is so busted.
He's so busted.
Oh dear. It almost makes the question of the lintel irrelevant. Talk about stepping on somebody's line. I agree with Miranda that the three windows below don't necessarily relate to so well to the design, but I also see it. So I certainly see that, Miranda. I think that the other question is regarding windows is the second, and I think maybe Miranda, you mentioned this, on the second and the third floor, the replacement of the existing windows. Now also which we should discuss, and Samantha, if you would address that and explain that in a little bit more detail, that would be helpful. And then the other question I have, are you intending to paint the brick of this building, or are you intending to strip it and return it to brick? I've forgotten.
We plan on painting it.
Uh-huh.
And I had provided the color photos here.
Yeah.
Samantha, I remember we had a discussion about this window 2 times ago, and then you had it kind of wrap around the edge, and then you moved it then back to this original position, because I thought we had some kind of photo, maybe it was on the other side that we had seen that was kind of mirroring this, and that kind of put to rest the question of whether the window should be there or not.
Right. So we originally did have the window more over here, kind of almost like a wraparound. We pushed it to the opening. And at the last meeting, the board had, said this was a nice location. But the photo, I think you are referring to the photo we saw on the other side. Over here, I think.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah.
There might, here there was a shed looking thing, but I think it was on the other side of the building that we were talking about.
Samantha, what if you applied sort of the paneling technique that you use on the front of the building under those windows? Can we see a picture of the your proposed facade, the color one?
It's a nice idea, Paul. I like that.
If you could go back one. Yeah. I don't know if that would be something to make it.
Sorry, Paul, what was your suggestion?
To add a panel underneath, like the insets that you have under these windows.
Oh, so add like this wood sill and raised wood paneling detail to right here?
Yes, I just put that out there as a suggestion. I don't know if that would.
I can certainly bring that back to the owner.
I like that, Paul. At least connects it, because I think the vocabulary, as you're saying, Miranda, gets lost when you look at the other windows here.
Paul, with the paneling idea you raised, would that continue to allow for picture windows to match the front, or do they want you to? Okay, so
you're exactly the windows there. Just
you're signaling a continuation of the storefront concept.
Yes.
Got it.
I like that.
Could you go back to the front image of the front, please?
Chip, you had brought up something about asking Samantha to talk about the windows again. Was there something specific you wanted her to address?
Yes, in the last, thank you. In the last conversation we had about we asked if the existing sash could be restored. And I think this application suggests that they are not capable of being restored and that they are being replaced with new windows, new Marvin windows. And I guess we don't have the exact details of those, what's proposed here in terms of mullion profile and detail relative to jam and sill and head condition.
I had submitted the window specifications at the last submission. I just did not include them on the presentation. But the Marvin windows will match exactly the size and the size mullions and everything to the existing, to what's there.
Okay. Could we review the bid and ask again in terms of going forward? Is the commission comfortable on the side windows? Is the applicant comfortable on the side windows as continuing to be picture windows, but with the detail migrating a bit from the front? And are there any other changes or contingencies that we're proposing other than that? Okay. With that specification, may I have a motion to find the application complete?
Take that motion.
Thank you very much, Paul. And a second?
I'll second.
Jeremy, great. All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to request the city attorney to prepare a C of A, including clear indication of the changes that were just proposed on the side windows?
Well, I'll make that motion.
Paul, thank you. And a second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None approved. Terrific. Thank you very much. Is there anyone attending the meeting whose application I missed going through the new application group? I know there's something I did miss, which is approval of the minutes. We have two sets of meetings that had to come forward. The minutes from the regular meeting of April 8th and the special meeting of April 15th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of April 8th?
Motion.
Thank you very much. Hugh, in a second. Jeremy, all in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? None. In terms of April 15th, many thanks for Jeremy. The minutes for that meeting were basically notes in short form. I'm thinking that we take the opportunity to go back to the meeting recording and fill in bits to get that more complete, which I'll get done for the next meeting. So I'm suggesting we wait on approval for the 15th until it's in format.
Chairman, may I ask, where is Rebecca? Is she no longer going to be covering the meetings?
Yeah.
Oh. So who is doing the minutes for this meeting?
TBD. I'm going to depend on the recording, and
Okay.
I thought I was going to propose an offline negotiation with Jeremy. But I'm thinking that it's going to be one of us guys.
Okay.
If Jeremy doesn't want to do it, I'll do it. But somebody's got to do it. In the meantime, it's a concern because Rebecca was extraordinary in her willingness to put in 4 or 5 hours on these long meetings, going through the recording and getting the entire set of conversations included. I'm not sure we'll ever have that luxury again, but we'll try.
I think it's hard to participate and take notes in that way. Just
It's
thinking
not.
that
It's not
like
possible.
it's like a separate thing. Yeah.
It is hard.
No,
I
we-
missed, I would say I could give you my notes, but I missed a few of the votes when I was sharing with the screen today. So
No, of course, no, I understand how that goes. I've got to apply through City Hall and see who might be available. And obviously we can look for folks on our own, but for the time being, we'll figure out how to get them done. Cool. If there's no further business, anybody? Then may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
I'll second.
There's some enthusiasm. All in favor, probably aye.
Aye.
Bless us all. It's a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Phil.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Phil. Thank you, Commission.
Bye.
Bye-bye.